Final segment with Governor Jesse Ventura. By the way, we've been simulcasting since the start of the show at prisonplanet.tv for viewers there. And my new film, Fall of the Republic, ladies and gentlemen, has an hour in the 2 hour, 24 minutes on the whole climate fraud, how the banks are setting up a private global corporate government from their own documents. That's now mainstream news today. But in a film I released a month and a half ago, Fall of the Republic, available at Infowars.com. Governor Jesse Ventura, I want to finish up with ClimateGate and then finally ask you, what are you most upset about? What are you most outraged with currently? But with ClimateGate, how do we have the UN investigate it when they're behind it? How do we have the British government investigate when they're behind it? How do we have the federal government investigate when they want this new taxation control grid over all human activity?
Well, you know, it simply comes back to the fact that we have to protest. We have to let our elected officials know that this is unacceptable, and people have to stand up for what they believe in the country. Now, ultimately, can you prevail? There's no guarantee of that. But certainly, I would hope our country still has the freedom that people are allowed to persist on an opposite viewpoint and not be, you know, attempted to be destroyed just because they think something's different than the status quo says it is. So if you're outraged over global warming and you're outraged over cap and trade, let your congressmen and senators know that. Because the biggest thing you can do is to make a phone call or write a letter to them. Trust me. Always remember, these guys' ultimate goal is to be reelected. They're there to serve themselves. They're not there to serve us. Career politicians, it's just what it's called. It's their career. Well, they're not going to jeopardize their careers. And if there's enough outrage voiced by the public, they will then listen. If there's no outrage, trust me, you're going to get it rammed down your throat. If there's no threat to their careers, they will do whatever well they damn please.
Well, that's a good point. It's in the news today in the Washington Post and Washington Times that senior Democratic leaders like Senator Webb warn Obama on taking action in Copenhagen, saying, look, this is red-handed fraud. They know the Earth's getting cooler. They admit it's just a taxing power grab. More documents are leaking out. The system is bleeding out right now. This is now being called the greatest scientific fraud in modern history, and there's been many scientific frauds. And the Democrats are now panicking, saying, look, you better abandon this. And now the third world countries got the secret documents today that it's really a tax on them to stop their development when they were promised Western money. See, they tell the third world, oh, you're going to get to rob the West. And then when really it's the big banks planning to rob them. So this whole thing is sinking.
Well, I hope that it does. You know, if it don't, like I said, the best thing people to do is be vocal and active. Take that time. Write that letter. Make that phone call. But let me also say this. Be civil with your phone calls. No personal insults. No personal attacks. State your business. State that what you feel and how you feel they should react to that. But don't dig yourself into a hole by insulting anyone. That's the worst thing you can do when you make contact with an elected official is throw an assault at them. You don't want to do that. But you can still be firm in your viewpoint. Now, Alex, moving ahead, I'll tell you what's outraging me right now, the war in Afghanistan. And the fact that we're going to put 30,000 of our troops in there and increase it, all while this country feels no pain. If we're going to go to these two wars, then it's time to implement a war tax to pay for them. Imagine what we're doing, Alex. We're not overly sending our young men and women over there to die. We're going to make it so when they come home, they'll get to pay for it for the rest of their lives. Because this generation doesn't have the courage enough to either stand up and get out of these wars or at least damn well pay for them if we're going to fight them. I also am outraged that a draft is not being reinstituted immediately. You've got guys that have been over there for 5, 6, and 7 tours of duty. That's inhumane. They need relief. Implement the draft, and you will see the wars not get bigger. You will see them come to an end. Because when little Johnny, who doesn't want to go, gets drafted, and a year later comes home in a body bag, that has a powerful influence on the neighborhood. Trust me.
So you agree with Congressman Rangel that the way to end wars is to have a draft. And my problem with that is the new draft, the National Compulsory Service Act and the National Service Act, they have two different bills, the government's going to be able to decide who gets to stay and who gets to go. And they're going to build a domestic army where they'll get to be basically little Nazi brown shirt thugs spying on their neighbors. And so all the Politico kids, like George W. Bush, they're going to get to be domestic thugs. But then all the...
Before we jump to those conclusions, let's see that nobody has the courage to bring the draft back in the first place. That's not going to happen. Are you kidding me?
Are you angry at Obama? I mean, has he really gone back?
I'm angry that he would escalate that war over there after he told us he was getting us out, because I'm an advocate of the true patriot right now is to bring, I wish I had it in front of me, the letter that my son sent to me on Veterans Day, talking about how we have to be diligent, how we've dropped the ball, because it's our job as the civilians to protect our military. And we have not done a good job on that. And what I mean by that is we're to protect them. They're not to go out there and fight unless there's a direct national interest to us. And this stuff about fighting terrorism by going over and invading countries and occupying the countries with our military, that is going to do nothing to stop terrorism. It's like cap and trade. In fact, it's going to create more terrorists, because if you occupy a nation, they're going to hate you. They don't love you. Imagine for a minute if Hugo Chavez, with all his money, bought some land by Palm Springs and put the Venezuelan army in there. How would we feel about that? Not too good, would we? Well, how can we go around the world and have our bases in 178 foreign countries? And yet, we're supposed to pay for all this. We're not even paying for these wars. We're going to make the very children that fight the wars come back and spend the rest of their lives paying for them also. I think that's pretty pathetic, and we ought to be ashamed of ourselves.
Well, in closing, the television show premiered last week to record ratings for TruTv, the #1 news show in their history. And part 2 on 9/11 tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. In closing, Governor Ventura, watching you as governor, a maverick, a true rebel, a revolutionary, was very refreshing. Watching the media demonize you and attack you and try to set you up was painful, but you were a statesman. You left after one term. And to see you grow and just get better and better and more informed and more libertarian, more anti-globalist, and to now see your TV show be a huge hit. I certainly hope it gets picked up for a second season. But as you've said many times off air, you don't know until it's picked up, but it certainly should be. And everybody needs to do their job to spread the word about the show. But we salute your spirit of liberty. And as Mark Twain said, in the beginning, a patriot is a scarce man, hated, feared, and scorned. But in the end, the timid join him, because then it costs nothing to be a patriot. And so a lot of timid people are joining the ranks thanks to your leadership, Ron Paul's leadership, and so many others. And, Governor, have a well-earned extended hiatus in Mexico, and surf's up. Have fun.
Thank you, Alex, and keep up the good work, man. I don't know how you do it day in and day out, but keep talking and keep disrupting the system, because it's the American way.
We'll do it, and I want to...
Between all of us, we won't let the country die. Thanks, Alex. Have a great winter.
You too. Take care.